Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're going to start to this evening's webinar with a quick walkthrough video. We recognize that in this strange COVID time, we don't get to be in the gallery space, and many of you haven't seen the gallery yet. So we're going to begin this evening with a video walkthrough of the presentation. Awesome. Thanks to my colleague, Rachel Cook, who is our curator of academic engagement. She created that video for us, and she's also helping me with our tech this evening. So before we get started, I just have a few announcements. First, I want to welcome everyone who's joining us here this evening, and happy Women's History Month, right? It's March. So just a few words. Since the early 1900s, women across the world have been gathering, marching, and demanding equality. March is Women's History Month, and time to reflect on the extraordinary accomplishments of women who've shaped our country's history. This year, International Women's Day fell on March 8th, which was recently, but the theme was Choose to Challenge. And we're going to talk a little bit about that with some of our guests today. This idea is also that change is unavoidable, especially in the last year that we've all been living. It's no doubt that our guests today have chosen to defy expectation and set new paths forward for themselves and for generations to follow. Each of our featured panelists today is part of the multidisciplinary project produced by fifth generation Wyomingite Lindsay Linton Buk. The project is called Women in Wyoming, Portraits and Interviews of Women Who Shaped the West. This tribute captures stories and portraits of the women who've been brave, strong, and impactful, celebrating their achievements, power, and learned wisdom. And since we can't be in person together right now, we put that video walkthrough together. It's posted in the chat. And of course, our museum is open, so if you are in Laramie, please come see the exhibition in person. There's something really extraordinary about seeing those portraits, larger than life, some of them are life-sized, and it's a really intimate way to experience the project. If you haven't done so, you can also check out Lindsay Linton Buk's project on her website, Women in Wyoming. My colleague's posting that in the chat as well. And there you can see a lot more of the portraits, as well as the podcast interviews with these incredible women. Quick thank you to the sponsors of the exhibition here at the University of Wyoming Art Museum. They include Genesis Alkali, Wyoming Public Media, and the Wyoming Arts Council, who receives funding from the National Endowment for the Arts and the Wyoming Legislature. So the format today, we have a set questions for the discussion, but we hope that you in our audience will participate too. So in the chat function, there's a little button at the lower part of your screen. You can chat throughout the discussion tonight or throughout the conversation. If you'd like to ask specific questions, go ahead and type those in the chat, and towards the end of the program, I'll be moderating some of those conversations and questions. Make sure that you change the little drop down in the chat to chat to panelists and attendees so that everyone can see your questions. So this is the second panel that we've had for Women's History Month. The first panel was hosted on March 11th and featured the first two chapters from Lindsay's project and the women, the Honorable Marilyn Kite, Nimi and Nina McConaughey, and Ara Newlin. And if you'd like to watch that, the recording is available on our YouTube channel, which is posted as a link in the chat as well. We'll also be recording today's panel, and that can be found on the Art Museum's YouTube channel. Give us a couple days to do some editing, but it'll be posted early next week, we hope. So we're going to be focusing on the rest of the chapters from the project. Chapter 2, just a little context, is called Filling the Void and highlights women who addressed a need or opportunity within themselves, their community, or out in the world. Lindsay says, the void is not empty. The void stands for space, potential, and energy to be harnessed. So tonight from chapter 2, we have Megan Grassell. Give us a wave, Megan. And Lynette St. Give us a wave, Lynette. We'll come back to you in just one moment. So from chapter 3, the chapter is called Power. It explores truth, voice, and authenticity in action, as well as the power of potential. And from chapter 3, Miss Rita Watson is joining us. Thank you, Rita. Chapter 4 is called Rising. It builds on Chapter 3's exploration of power, delving into the creative process, imagination, and the reinvention and leadership. So from Chapter 4, we have Lauren Gurney joining us. Hello, Miss Lauren. And Chapter 5 is called The Cowgirl State. Chapter 5 completes the cycle of evolution and growth explored in chapters 1 through 3. And Lindsay likes to say this chapter plays on Wyoming's unofficial motto, the cowboy state, and explores past, present, and future. And from chapter 5, Jessie Allen. Hi, Jessie, give us a wave. Jessie's joining us from chapter 5. So I'm going to be introducing each guest and then having some short conversations, and then we'll open it up to the group for kind of a group conversation today. As audience members, please feel free to chat throughout. Our guests, hopefully you can chat throughout as well, and feel free to unmute yourselves. And again, just make sure you're keeping your chat safe and respectful and mindful of everyone else as well. Are you ladies ready to begin? Yes, okay, great. So I'm gonna start with Megan today. Megan Grassell is the founder and CEO of Yellowberry, a bra, underwear, lounge, and activewear company for girls ages 8 through 14. Megan grew up on a ranch in Pinedale, Wyoming, and later in Jackson as a competitive ski racer. She founded Yellowberry when she was 17 years old as a junior in high school, and is revolutionizing the bra industry for young girls from Wyoming. Megan, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited, Zoom to be this close to you.
I know, right? It's funny how Zoom has become this intimate space, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so Lindsay gave us some questions, and I thought that it would be good to kind of start just what a year it's been for all of us, but share with me what the year has been like for you and what Yellowberry's been up to.
Yeah, there's like so many different things that come to my mind when we say that. Just, I mean, like everyone, right? It's such an unprecedented year, to repeat that for the millionth time.
Right.
No, but it's been funny. I think, literally a year ago today, when everything first went into lockdown and COVID really started happening, it was really scary. And what we saw as a company was that everything, our sales slowed like 50-60%. And it's kind of like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What are we going to do? And we spent a lot of time as a team and with my investors of sort of figuring out like, what's our best case scenario? What's our worst case scenario? What do we think is realistic? And the reality was like, nobody knew how to project out the next month, nonetheless the next year, like what was going to happen. And we had this idea when it came out that people needed to start making masks, that we were like, we actually were going to launch this lounge set for girls, like a top and a bottom. And so we had all this extra fabric because we decided not to launch it because everything was happening with COVID. And the hospital in Jackson was looking for 500 masks to be donated. And we were like, okay, why don't we donate a mask for every scrunchie that we sell? We'll use the proceeds to, donate the masks. And we put it up on our website and went through it in like an hour. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then we had people that were reaching out that was like, my daughter is a nurse in Denver, or my husband is a doctor here, can I buy the mask and send them to you? And so this was still like middle of March, I think. So it was still very early. And we just made it available for anybody to purchase them on our website. And then all of a sudden we had like record-breaking sales days. And it was this craze because at the time you couldn't get masks anywhere. And we were full lockdown, but you still had to go to the grocery store and we didn't really know what the deal was. And so that really catapulted forward. So we ended up making literally just like so many this year for, across the state of Wyoming, like universities, hospitals, kind of all over the surrounding area as well. A couple of Fortune 500 companies that were sort of random. And then on top of that, which was really incredible, was we launched a new category of more like price point focused items that, again, we thought we had enough inventory for like a year. We sold out in 30 days. And it was like, it was incredible. And it brought up like a moral conundrum for me that was like, okay, the company is literally breaking records and doing so well, but like people are losing their jobs and their homes. And so it was like, it was an interesting position, I think, to be in. I'm grateful that my team was able to weather well and we, have continued the momentum, but it's been a crazy year, you know, which we've all experienced on some level, but that's the quick and dirty.
Awesome. Thank you. And so one of the things I was going through in like the history of your company and your
Yeah.
bio and all these things. So you were you made time as the youngest business, one of the youngest business people of the year. Tell me more about that.
So this is a funny story. So there was this list, it's Time Magazine's most influential teens, and they do it every year, and it's like 25 people. And this is when I was like, I think I was 18 or 19. I had just graduated high school, and I was on a work trip with my mom. I think we were in New York, and I got an email from someone that was like, "Hi, I'm an editor at Time Magazine. Can I have your photo for this article that we're writing?" And I thought that it was like a joke. I thought it was spam. And so I think I responded, or maybe didn't even answer, but was like, you could take something from our website, whatever. And then the list came out on Monday, and it was with people that I thought were much more exceptional than I was. But it was a really incredible thing. It was about a year or two after I launched Yellowberry, and we had gained so much of this very natural press, and like I was on the Today Show, Good Morning America, the New York Times, about my company, but it was all about the idea of like this young girl started a company to make age-appropriate bras for her sister. It was just kind of a newsworthy story. And I don't mean that in a pretentious way, but it was really incredible to see it kind of take off. And so the Time Magazine mention, if you will, was sort of a part of that.
Yeah.
Which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, I love that your sister was the inspiration for your company as well. And that's such a good thing for as women right now on a podcast, right? We're on this webinar thinking about how we can support young people because they are our future, right?
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Megan, we're going to come back to you, but next I would love to welcome Lynette St. Clair. Lynette grew up in Fort Washakie, Wyoming on the Wind River Reservation. A linguist, cultural preservationist, former educator, and education consultant, Lynette is passionate about preserving and sharing the Shoshone language with the next generation and with the world. In 2015, she was awarded the National Johnson O'Malley Teacher of the Year distinction for her implementation of technology to enhance language instruction for the children of the Wind River Reservation. Lynette has represented an authentic voice for Indigenous people in the rewriting of history through her involvement with statewide standard initiatives to address how contributions of American Indians are taught in Wyoming classrooms. Lynette, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's good to be here with the rest of you ladies. And I just got to say, I'm very humbled to be in the presence of such amazing women, especially during the March, month of the woman. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful. So tell us about the last year for you and how it's affected your teaching and development. And we'll start with that question.
So yeah, this last year, of course, like everybody else, it has been such a learning experience for us. And when in January, when we started hearing the news about the COVID outbreak, it was, at first you were kind of a little bit, apprehensive and not really thinking it was going to be a major issue. And then we got into March, and the superintendent calls us and says, we're going to go on lockdown. You can take all of your necessary work home with you, and we're going to start working from home. Students are not going to be coming back for a while. So it was, that's when it really got real. And, it was scary. It was really scary. Of course, we had just, tried to prepare for what was to come, and we had no idea how big it was going to get, and we had to get creative and in the area of language instruction and language development. We took a huge hit because we weren't able to have students directly in the classroom for language instruction. And so in 2019, I actually was part of a team who developed the Shoshone language app. And so we took the app and we started thinking outside the box on how we could utilize that and connect with students at home. So we took advantage of that opportunity and reached out to our parents and developed some really creative ways to keep instruction alive and going. during the pandemic and during the virtual learning aspect of education.
I have to say, your app is so cool, because when I found out about it, I downloaded it and I was like, oh, this is amazing. Just to be able to know a language, but also the use of technology, and it's super exciting. So in thinking about that, what your community was really hit hard by COVID. And so I think that's something that we should acknowledge, that you've persevered and moved through this in really amazing ways. Can you talk about kind of some of your generational goals for preserving language and culture, and how you incorporate technology in some of those ways?
Yeah, so, when we, again, we had to go back to our original traditional ways of knowing. And in our curriculum, we have, we call it the core values or the core belief system of the Shoshone people, because at the school that I work at, it's a predominantly Shoshone community in Fort Washakie. And so many years ago, we developed a core belief system based on honor, respect, generosity, family, just all of the, it's pretty much a universal code that everybody has, across the world, and really expanded on that. It was so evident that those virtues and those values are still present and alive and thriving in our community, because when the, pandemic hit, a month later, we have people in our community coming to check on us and saying, do you have enough, supplies? Do you have enough water? Do you have enough food? And just really keeping that ongoing system of check, making sure everybody was okay. That was so, it was so humbling, and it was so amazing to still have that presence still in our community. And of course, we always look out for each other, but mostly for our elders, because, they're the ones that were so in danger of getting, the sickness. And so, yeah, it was really hard, but having to rely on everybody and having, the resources here in our community, our health system, the leadership in that area have really buckled down, and they've really developed some outstanding processes to get the vaccine to our community members. And now we're actually offering those, excuse me, the vaccines for people who are not tribal members, free of charge. They can come to certain areas on the reservation and have, the vaccine administered. Excuse me. And so anyway, carrying that forward, I think those lessons are so valuable, especially, not only for our students, but for our community to continue to thrive and be resilient. We need to be able to depend on each other in times of need. And this was certainly a test of, of all of those virtues. So we've weathered through it, and we're as strong and resilient as ever. So I'm so thankful for all the resources that we have.
Yeah, amazing. I feel like we're at a point that it's there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I can ask those questions a little bit easier. So thank you so much for sharing that, Lynette.
Mhm.
I think we'll move on to Rita next. So Miss Rita Watson grew up during the Jim Crow segregation in the South in Durham, North Carolina. She was the first Black person to work at Woolworth's Five and Dime store in Durham, and continued to advance her career as the climate improved for African Americans in the United States. In 1965, Rita moved from the South to the rural West after her husband was transferred to F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming. The first time she and her husband drove to Cheyenne, she asked him to show her downtown. "This is it," she proclaimed. Rita, do you remember this?
Yes, I do.
Oh, certainly they would only stay for a few years. Rita began her tenure with the state of Wyoming and became active in the community. Cheyenne's been home for Rita and her family for over half a century now. Rita began her employment with the state of Wyoming in November of 1969 at the Department of Health Vital Record Services, and then transferred to the Department of Education in 1974. Since then, Rita has been the most consistent present with the Department of Education, assisting the past 8, I'm going to do that, 8 Wyoming superintendents of education. She loves her job, and she's active in the community, volunteering and organizing many charitable causes. She's the founding member of the Love and Charity Club, most well known for organizing the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day March in Cheyenne since 1982.
Yeah.
Rita, welcome.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here, and I am honored to be among such awesome women. I mean, we just went through the pictures in the on display, and it's just amazing all of the things that we do as women. We are strong. We are leaders. We are the backbone. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and amen to that. So you value education. I feel like this may be a thread in our discussion today for sure. We talked a little bit, Rita, just about what your hope is for working within the Department of Education and kind of this hope for the future. Can you talk a little bit about some of what your goals working in the Department of Education have been and what you hope?
Well, education is my passion, and working in the Department of Education gives me the opportunity to work with school districts and school administrators and just know what's going on in the school so I can take it to my community. When I came to Cheyenne, the Black community was not very active in Cheyenne, and we were just kind of, weren't really recognized. We didn't know anything. So by working in the Department of Education, I know more or less what's going on in the area of education, and I can take that to my community and work with the children, because I just see our children falling behind. So the Love and Charity Club, our main goal was to provide scholarships for our students and to just teach them about their heritage and make them feel welcome in the community and make them feel bold and learn so they can step out and just be good people and do good things for the community. So the people because most people in Wyoming had no idea what happened and what goes on in the Black community. So we wanted to spread that news and just allow everybody to know us and give us the opportunity to know them so that we could be active in the community and just add our perspective, our culture, our ideas, and just being there to help.
So you're in Lindsay's chapter called Power.
Yeah.
Tell me, what do you think about this idea of power and the chapter that you were in, and maybe how have you chosen to challenge some of those norms?
I like that because I do feel that I have some power in Wyoming and in Cheyenne. When we came here, there were no activities, no recognition, not much going on in the community. So I, along with 6 other women, got together to see what we could do to spread the news about the Black culture. We started the march to get Dr. King's birthday to be a holiday, and we got that accomplished. We had Wyoming had a Miss Wyoming beauty pageant, but they didn't include any Black people. So we started the first Miss Black Heritage pageant. We offered a soul food taster, and we had a program where people could come and taste the food that's called soul food and just hear about what we were doing in the community and what our ancestors and our earlier Black people had done for the country, and we learned a lot. We had Black art exhibits, and we had a banquet for Dr. King. We did Dress for Success workshops. We put interest in, we entered the Frontier Days Parade that hadn't happened before. We offered a Martin Luther King essay contest, and that was statewide. We sent out invitations all over the state for children to write essays about what they thought about Dr. King and what his accomplishments were. And we got amazing responses. And it was mostly from people, not Black children, not Black kids. It was white children who wrote. And I got telephone calls about things that they didn't know and they wanted to know. And the teachers called. It was just wonderful to be able to do that. And we did offer scholarships to the winning essay writers, and we've just done quite a bit. We have a MAFA program that talks about the African heritage and Black accomplishments. We started the Juneteenth program. We recognize Kwanzaa. We just have, the 7 ladies in that group have been very powerful in moving forward the Black culture in Cheyenne mainly. But I think all over Wyoming, most people have heard about it.
Amazing. I would say there's nothing you can't do, my dear Rita Watson.
You know, if I put my mind to it, I feel like I can do it.
So here, we talked about this a little bit already, but you have been with the state of Wyoming for how many years now?
51 years.
Amazing.
Started.
Amazing. And any chance of
51 years.
retiring?
I'm not even thinking about retiring. I love what I do. During the pandemic, I'm the only person who was here every day because we needed a face in the agency so people would know that we were open for business. So I was here every day, and I love what I do. I have had amazing supervisors and bosses, most of them women, and I have learned so much from them. I have learned so much from working in this agency. So I do love it, and I have no desire to leave.
Amazing. Thank you, Rita. We'll circle back to you as well, but I'd like to welcome Lauren Gurney. Lauren is Wyoming's only female Army medevac pilot. Lauren Lolo Gurney, I put that in quotes because I'm reading it that way, but her mission is to fly and save lives. Piloting the UH-60 Blackhawk helicopters, Lauren's first flight journey had humble beginnings, first inspired by watching the movie Dumbo as a child. Between ages of 9 and 19, she raced cars with her dad and worked as a mechanic in his pit crew. And when she was 16, the Sport Car Club of America honored her with the title of Mechanic of the Year. Her grandfather, a veteran Korean War paramedic and former NASA Valkyrie project technician, pushed Lauren to pursue her flight, outer space science, and medical interests. Enlisting at the Army at 17, she graduated from military college in pre-medicine, and 5 years later, she graduated from flight school. When she's not flying helicopters, Lauren lives in Moose, Wyoming, where she's the owner and head baker of the Jackson Hole Cake Company. A self-taught professional baker and chocolatier, Lauren's baking business is her creative outlet and a joy where she builds relationships around love and connection. She's baked in every country in which she's been deployed and loves baking for her local community the most. Welcome, Lolo. Can I call you that?
Yes, all of my friends call me Lolo, so that's very appropriate, Katie. Thank you so much to yourself, to the University of Wyoming, and of course to Lindsay Linton Buk. Where would we be without her?
I'm so sad she couldn't be here today, but it's a delight to be able to host all of you for sure. So I just want to touch base with you about your last year and some of the amazing things you've been up to as well. You want to tell us kind of where the life has taken you?
I'd be happy to. Very similar to our previous stories, life pivoted rather drastically around this time last year. And I made the very tough decision to close Jackson Cake Company just on a pause. And I went to work with the military department, but also working for the governor in the what was called the SIG, the COVID Interagency Group. I do have a background in my 15 years of military service doing emergency management, emergency planning. And so I was part of a team that worked on the strategic plan for how to get Wyoming through our 3 phases during the pandemic. Going from the governor's staff, I went immediately back into my full-time military job and continued training. I'm also a test pilot on my aircraft. So a small explanation of that is even when we fly missions and we're very busy with our flight program, those aircraft still have a maintenance procedure and a maintenance protocol to follow. And as they do break, we fix them. And with some of my responsibilities include testing those aircraft to make sure that they have airworthiness and that they're safe to continue flying. And so that became my priority the entire last year. And I'm very hopeful to reopen Jackson Cake Company this summer. But truly, I think, there was always a gift in the struggle and gift in the challenge. And part of that gift this last summer was being able to branch out from just the 2 hats that I wear between the military and being an entrepreneur with Jackson Cake Co. and do more backcountry trips working with Jessie, who we're going to hear from next with Diamond 4. I also got to have a lot of interface with Megan with her company and get some of the information about Yellowberry and the mask initiative in front of the Department of Health and the governor's staff. So this group has just been so inclusive and wonderful, and I've really appreciated that gift that has brought us together.
That's so awesome. And I'll come back to you all being able to meet each other and work together a little bit more, but I want to focus on you for just a few more moments, Lauren. So in my mind, Blackhawks and cakes are such opposite ends of the spectrum. Can you talk a little bit about that duality and how you kind of hold both of those? And maybe they're not different for you.
Yeah, well, they are different. I would say that again, the connection with cake and desserts are all about celebrating and being able to work with those ideal clients where we're celebrating an event or each other, and it's really centered on love and those traditions that we build around family celebrations, which that took a huge turn this summer in this last year. And then on the military side, since I was very young, there's always been the passion to fly, and my brain is very mechanically inclined. And I think that it was that duty and that calling to serve. And I think that, there is, to echo a lot of what Lynette St. Clair said about, the platform that they build, their morals and their duty, bound selves, and how we look at, just what we want to present in integrity and honor and selfless service. I think those things were instilled in me from a very young age with my grandfather and with my dad. And I think that the best way to tell you is that both my right brain and my left brain work full time. And then it's, again, it's allowed me to branch out into in-home chef for different clients and work for Jessie. And gosh, that's a whole other world to take, small little snippets of skills into the backcountry and a lot of unpredictability, and have such great faith in those that surround us and in our animals and in ourselves, and be able to adapt.
Is there nothing you can't do?
Oh, there's plenty of things.
I would almost ask that question to all of you. Like you ladies are all so amazing. So cool. Lauren, we'll come back to you. Next, I'd love to welcome Jessie Allen. So Jessie is a 6th generation Wyoming outdoors woman whose mission is to create connection and community in the mountains. Living off the grid for half of the year at 9,200 feet, Jessie manages Allen Diamond's 4 Ranch. Did I say that right? Diamond 4 Ranch, yes. Located in the heart of the Wind River Mountains, and it's Wyoming's highest guest range. A multifaceted Wyoming woman, Jessie served as the state officer for Future Farmers of America, or FFA, while she was attending the University of Wyoming, which sparked inspiration to compete for and win the title of Miss Wyoming in 2014. Now the full-time manager of her family's guest ranch, Jessie leads a variety of folks into the wilderness for horseback adventures. Each summer, she guides week-long women's wilderness yoga retreats. She also brings families and groups into the mountains to ride, fly fish, and hike. In the fall, she guides archery and rifle hunters. During the off-season, she leads students into the wilderness for the National Outdoor Leadership School, or NOLS, which you just got back on a trip. We'll hear more about that in a moment. I should say yesterday, Jessie just got back from a trip, so pretty impressive. She pursued her yoga teacher training in Thailand, worked as a handler for the Yukon Quest, a 1,000-mile dog sled race in Alaska, and spent 4 months traveling solo in New Zealand, working on dairy farms, horse trekking operations, and sheep stations. As a guide, teacher, and leader, Jessie creates transformational opportunities in the mountains where her clients learn to bridge gaps, find common ground, and overall build a broader human connection. Jessie, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Katie. That was quite a thorough description of my life story. And thank you. Yeah, thank you for providing this space for all of us to connect. I think it's so fantastic that we're able to be chiming in from all different corners of the state, and what a special platform and opportunity to connect with all of these fine women. So thank you for leading this discussion.
It's a pleasure. I'm in awe of all of you. I've said that already, but yeah, there's nothing that you women can't do, I think. But Jessie, questions for you. So tell us, you just got out of a month-long trip in the backcountry yesterday. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the trip that you were leading?
Sure. Yeah, I was on a course with NOLS, with the National Outdoor Leadership School. So during the summer and fall season, I am fully immersed in our business here in the Wind River Mountains, guiding pack trips. But because we're at such a high altitude, it's a very seasonal operation. So during the off season, I do a handful of courses through NOLS as an instructor. So I just spent a month in southern Utah in the canyons, teaching canyoneering to a group of 10 students who happened to be all male. I was the only female on the course for the month as their instructor. And yeah, teaching outdoor living skills, leadership in the backcountry, technical canyoneering skills, and just got out yesterday. So yesterday was my first shower in a month, and here I am with makeup on to be on camera. What a change of pace.
I think you also hold the duality prize for today. So thinking just about this year of struggle and quarantine and lots of stress and lots of unknowns, what has your experience been like in the last year, especially when we think about things like yoga and living off the grid? And can you talk just a little bit about those types of experiences in the last year and maybe what you've learned?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think what became very apparent was last year when this all started happening at this time a year ago, which I was also out on a course for NOLS while the pandemic was all picking up steam. And so we actually got pulled out of the field. I had been in the backcountry for 3 weeks, not knowing what was happening in the world, and just evacuated from the field to fly students home and whatnot. That was a year ago in March. So it was a whirlwind to wrap our minds around what our new world was looking like. And we were unsure of what that would mean for the business. And it had a lot of discussion around just closing the business down altogether. Were people still wanting to be traveling and to come to these remote places? But we decided to stay open. We thought we would scale down to a handful of trips, but it actually turned out to be an incredibly busy season because we were seeing that in the midst of all of this struggle and challenge, there was a lot of people who were craving space and fresh air and adventure. And so we were overwhelmed with the amount of people that reached out wanting to come on trips at the ranch. And so that was such a confirmation in that what we do, it provides a lot of value when people need that sense of peace and space and fresh air, and that of all places to take a healthy vacation, we spend 95% of the day outside every day. And so it felt like a really healthy option for people. Along, like you had mentioned, I lead wellness trips throughout the summer. I lead youth trips for girls and other kinds of fly fishing trips and hunting trips and whatnot. So kind of all across the board. But there was that common underlying theme of people need space, and this sense of connection with nature was one of the something that you could feel people were just craving. So it was good confirmation that what we do is providing a lot of good for people when they need it most.
Yeah, there's a lot of healing in nature. Thank you
Yeah.
for offering that. So I have one last question for you, Jessie, before we open it up to the whole group. But I was just thinking about you as a woman guiding an all-male group, and as a woman who guides archery, which is kind of stereotypical as a male-dominated sport or things like that. And in Wyoming, we have the women's one-shot antelope hunt and some of these types of things. Can you talk a little bit about your experience as a woman guiding some of those trips, or some of the things maybe you've had to reframe for people perhaps, or if that's come up for you at all?
I would say it's come up for me, yes. Fairly relevant.
I had a hunch.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head that it is. I know of a couple other women hunting guides, and it's only through Instagram. I mean, it is very uncommon to see a lot of women in the role of guiding hunters, and it is fantastic to see that there is more momentum picking up with women hunters, especially through events like the One Shot, and like that is the growing demographic of hunters. The fastest growing demographic right now is women, and that's really great to see and exciting. But there is a different element of being a guide. Oftentimes, my hunters tend to be about twice my age and may have been hunting much longer than I have. And so it did take a while for me to step into that role and get my feet under me and to have the confidence to be taking these much more experienced older men into the country, into the backcountry, and being their leader and the decision maker as we're trying to get as close as possible to the animals. But what I found comfort and confidence in is that I grew up in this place. I know these mountains like the back of my hand. Now this is where I've spent every summer of my life. And so to have that foundation of connection and knowledge of the land and of the horses, that was what helped me kind of step into this role. And now I just work really, really hard and let my work ethic and my competency that has been built over the years speak for itself, and not be afraid to like show a bit of feminism too, and not feel like I have to act too rough and gruff, that I can still express my femininity while also being very much empowered in the role of something that is oftentimes seen as a man's sport. So yeah.
Awesome. I think that's such a beautiful duality to hold, and such a great role model for women of all ages, especially our future generations. So thanks, Jessie. Some of the things, Lynette says, Jessie, you're my hero. I couldn't agree more, right? You are all my sheroes, I should say. So I want to just take the opportunity to let our panelists, if you have questions for each other, now's the time to ask questions for each other. Audience members, if you would like to type things into the chat, I can read some of those things. I do have some questions already lined up, so don't feel obligated if nothing's coming to mind. But some of the things that have kind of threaded together this evening are this idea of like core beliefs and values. And I think one of the things that is important is like Wyoming is one of the connectors for all of us. So my question to all of our panelists is, how has this project maybe shaped you or impacted you? What has it been like to participate in this Women in Wyoming project? Megan, you unmuted. You get to go first.
Oh, no.
But other ladies, just jump right in.
Oh, I didn't even mean to. But to answer your question, I mean, I think what you all have sort of said, what we keep saying is it's so humbling, first of all, to even be included or recognized as a part of this project. But I think like when I first sat down with Lindsay and she talked about what she wanted to do, and she was just maybe started on chapter 1, and I was like, you know, I don't know. First of all, I was like, why are you talking to me? Like, you know, what is this really? But also I think, you know, I think she did such an exceptional job of finding kind of like obscure people from every corner of our state that I would have never met or heard of or read about or known their stories of. You know, I'm originally from Pinedale, I live in Jackson. I spent a few years in New York City, but my world is, you know, those couple of places, at least in the state of Wyoming. And I would have always thought growing up here that was somewhat representative of what a lot of our state is like, which is probably true on one hand, but I think like I wouldn't have thought about like fighter pilots and people, you know, building language apps and things of our state. I think it was very eye-opening for me and incredibly humbling in the best possible way.
Yeah, and it's amazing to watch people go through that gallery space. And sometimes they recognize people because they're from their hometown. And sometimes they recognize people because it's someone like Ann Simpson or Rita Watson, or right, like they recognize all these amazing women for so many different reasons. So thanks for sharing that, Megan. Does any of our other panelists want to chime in about kind of your personal impacts about participating?
I think my initial reaction to meeting with Lindsay, the best word to describe it was reluctant. Not because I don't adore Lindsay and her work, and am in constant awe of what she's put together. And I think it's continually re-inspired me and kind of reaffirmed the why behind what I do. But I think that a big part of my story had to do with my service in the military. I am often the only, and the only female or the only this based on gender. And I think that adds so much pressure, higher standards, internal, external validation. And I think this project felt like in a way of coming home to all the other women in our great state that are shaping the West. So, you know, thanks again to Lindsay and to the University of Wyoming for doing this.
Yeah, well put. Rita, do you want to chime in, or Lynette? Everybody's unmuted. Go.
I just want to say how wonderful I feel about being among all of these great women. And when Lindsay approached me, I thought that my story wasn't anything. But it was good for me because I sat down and realized that I've made a difference in this city. Children have learned so much about their heritage. I have been so fortunate to meet so many wonderful, wonderful women who have taught me so much and just changed my idea of how life is for. How wonderful life can be for anybody, especially a Black woman in Cheyenne, because that is something, when I came here, I was discouraged. But I have been so fortunate to have had such a wonderful life here. I've met women in all stages of life, and it has all been so positive. And I've been able to tell the children that I come in contact with in the Black neighborhood, which matters a lot to me, because our Black children need to know that they have a heritage, they're from something good, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel if they do what they're supposed to do. It's all about doing the right thing. So I just feel so humble, and I am so grateful to Lindsay. I just appreciate her so much, and all of you. So congratulations to all of you. Thank you for letting me be a part of this.
And Rita, I have to tell you, I didn't remember it until you were explaining, but I remember writing a Martin Luther King essay when I was in middle school.
Wonderful.
And I was like, I think it was like third or fourth grade, and I'm sure it would had to have been because of you. So
exactly.
thank you for that.
Thank you. It was amazing. Some of the things that those students sent in, most of them had a chance to come down and be with us at the march, and they got to read their essays, and they were so excited about doing that. And they learned so much by just writing an essay about one person. So thank you.
I love that Lindsay's project, Women in Wyoming, is intergenerational. And we have Nikki, who's the oldest woman, and she's, if you remember the images, she's the sheep rancher in that wonderful cowboy hat and big jacket. And then Sky, who I think at the time, I think she was 11 when that photo was taken. So it is inspiring all ages for sure. Jessie or Lynette, do you want to chime in?
And, I just wanted to add, I've listened to everybody's stories, and it's just so amazing to really, I think one of you, Megan, I think you mentioned it, just about how many people have contributed to this project. And really, I'm so thankful to Lindsay for bringing us all together, and really for opening my eyes to show me, to broaden my perspective, and look at other people's lives through different lens, because you try to be cognizant of that, and it's really hard when you're limited, I guess. And just having this opportunity through the podcast to hear all of these different stories and the different chapters is really amazing. And I'm just so humbled to be a part of that process. But all of your stories are so cool. When I was listening to them over the summer, like I was saying, Jessie is my new hero, because I don't know how you could be like around a group of guys for a month and and then you come back here and you're around the women. So it's like, you got to come back and but I also share, the Wind River Mountains. I mean, that's my back door, and we have a very a presence there that is culturally, that is my land, my homelands. And so for me, to know that, to share that connection, it's so humbling. And I'm glad you appreciate the beauty of our Wind River Mountains, because they're so beautiful and they're such a sacred place.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Lynette, for saying that, and that the connection that is there. And yet, that it's so cool that this project has created this space to be building these connections that may not have otherwise been formed. And just to speak to what, what Katie had asked about, like how this has been impactful in our worlds. And I think the ways that Lindsay has used this project to continue to create those avenues for connection from all of these very diverse, accomplished, talented, inspiring women of all ages and backgrounds and whatnot, has she's done so in a lot of different ways. And I remember right after we started a new norm of what life looked like in quarantine, Lindsay was so active in finding ways to use this project to do good for other people. And so she reached out to me asking if I would do yoga classes online, which was just such a special way to still try to provide something of good value, to provide a place of connection and a deep sigh of relief to just take people through a yoga class online. And so I just wanted to mention that one piece of like how this project was enabling us to hear from different women, and well, like with me personally, providing some yoga classes and hearing from different women to really come together and be more connected than ever when the world felt so disconnected and isolated and separate. It was like just finding ways to really put an emphasis on community, which was really incredible to see.
Jessie, I think I took one of your yoga classes on Facebook at one point, so
Ah.
thank you.
That's awesome.
I want to address a couple questions that have come in the chat. So there's some really good ones. So I want to make sure we have time. Ara Newland, she was actually one of our panelists last time. She has a question for Lynette. She said, also, thank you. This is so lovely. But specifically for you, Lynette, the Shoshone language app. Wow. I would love to hear you speak more about the app, and could this be a model for language education in other native languages? A follow-up question to that, how have you been able to incorporate those core Shoshone values you mentioned into the app itself?
Well, thank you for the question. So I'll answer the first part, and is to, I guess, incorporate the Shoshone core values. At the school that I work at, we have, like I said, every month we base our lessons on the value system. The value system has been incorporated into our app. There's 16 categories, and they go from foods to objects around the house, different conversational phrases, and also specifically cultural words and parts of language that people need to understand. So the students are able to hear the month, spoken in Shoshone. So for this month, it's we call it Dahwarima, which means the beginning of spring, excuse me, spring moon. And so they hear that, and they can go to the Shoshone language app and they can hear it also there, but it's reinforced at school. And all of the value systems are reinforced through lessons at the school by our Shoshone language instructors. And so that's the connection that we have. I also had started a new, it's called Padlet on the websites. If you're familiar with that, you can go to Padlet and you can go to the Office of Indian Education, and there are a lot of resources on the Shoshone culture and the Shoshone language. And so we incorporate everything that is in the app into the classroom. We try and do that just to be consistent. And then the other thing is the language lessons. We're working on finalizing the lesson plan book or the core value curriculum. That'll be finished here in July, and it'll be released in August for our school district. And it's a K-12 curriculum that encompasses the language learning and the traditional knowledge, and it's all incorporated with Indian Ed for All as well. So yeah, it's a huge order, but we're very confident that it's going to be helpful in the classroom. But I also want to mention, we also finished at our high school last year. We were able to launch a travel story. It's the first of its kind here in the state. It was developed by our students, and if you download the app, it's called travelstoriesgps.com. You can download the app and you can take a tour in your vehicle if you drive through the Wind River Reservation. If you download the app, put it in your cup holder, it has ping sites. So when you hit these sites, the narration will automatically start, and it'll take you through the whole reservation. Well, not the whole reservation. It'll take you through the Fort Washakie area, and it starts at 26,287 and it works all the way down to the southern border of the reservation, which ends at the Poposia River. So that's a new app. It was developed by the students at Fort Washakie High School, and it was just launched in 2020.
Wow, that's cool. I'm like, Jessie, you should use that on some of your, like with some of your guests. That's amazing. Very cool. So there's a question from, I think her name's Riley. It might be a parent, but she said, he or she says, I am 7. How do I grow up to be a hero too? Would you all like to take a stab at that one? Anybody?
Believe in yourself, listen to your parents, make sure you have respect for your parents, make sure you have respect for yourself, have goals for yourself, and just know that you can achieve anything as long as you put your mind to it and you're willing to work for it. That's my advice.
Jessie, do you want to chime in?
Sure. I would say to explore your passions and realizing that that might start with one small little experience that could turn into something that lights you on fire. And so to explore things that you're curious about and see what it is that really clicks for you and makes you come alive and drives that passion, and then continue to invest in that passion. And the more that you can live fully into what makes you come alive and feel passionate, the more that you can contribute your unique talent to the world that only you can bring. So don't compare yourself to what other people are doing and trying to do what they're doing. What is the most powerful thing you can bring to be a hero is to live truly and fully into what it is that makes you thrive and get excited about the world.
Lynette, Jessie, thank you. Do any of our other women want to answer that one?
I would say be bold, ask questions, and get as much education as you possibly can. It doesn't have to be in school. It can be in books, on TV, just out in the world. But education is the key to success, and being bold is the key to kind of being a hero. So hang in there and just read.
Thank you, Rita.
I know this beautiful 7-year-old very well, and I will tell you that Riley is incredibly smart, and she has an affinity for music and singing and guitar and drums, and she's been working her way through chapter books. So I think we will have another wonderful woman in Wyoming on our hands for sure.
Awesome. Megan, do you want to chime in with anything?
I mean, you guys kind of covered it perfectly. I don't know that I have anything to add. I think it was exceptional. Yeah.
I do have to share. So we teach all ages here at the University of Wyoming Art Museum, and our master teacher has done a lot of lessons. And there were 2 particular 5-year-old girls, and she was Jennifer Smith, our master teacher, was working with this exhibition and all your portraits. And after a couple lessons, she said, I'd like you to draw now a portrait of who you think is a powerful woman. Guess who they drew? Themselves. Right? I know. So I think this work is beyond measure so powerful for other women and young girls and even young boys to be able to see this as an example for sure. I'm going to go back to questions. This is a good one from Ruby, who's a junior at the University of Wyoming, and she's studying environment and natural resources with a minor in outdoor leadership. So Jessie, what would you say to a young woman who is about to enter a field that can sometimes be very male dominated? There's more to that question, but I'll start with that one.
Great. Well, I will first just touch on like the familiarity that I've had with growing up in this industry, that a lot of folks would arrive to the ranch and expect to see a male as their guide. And I started guiding trips when I was 13 from the ranch. And so they would oftentimes be pretty surprised to see a young woman in that role. So I can relate to you, Ruby, and understand the hesitation of how to navigate that. And with our ranch, I will also say now it's about 90% female crew that I have. I have about up to 18 or 20 employees throughout the entirety of the season, and about 90% of them are female because they have just happened to be the most qualified candidates. And so I think there are more and more exceptionally talented, competent women who are entering the outdoor recreation industry, and so to build as much competence and skills that you can to enter that field, and know that there is becoming more and more like strong women in this world of outdoor recreation. So if you want a job at the ranch, call me up. I am hiring, and or can put you in contact with all sorts of other operations that we could chat about. But truly, you're welcome to send me a message personally if you'd like.
It wouldn't be Zoom without unmuting yourself, right? Sorry about that. I was just saying thanks, Jessie, and thanks, Ruby, for such a good question. Ruby asked another question that I think is really great. So I'm going to open it up to the whole group today. And Jessie, maybe I'll start with you, but what women have influenced you to become who you are today?
That is a fantastic question. We have, growing up on our ranch, we have had so many women work over the years. This will be our 49th season in business. And I mentioned now managing a crew that has just so happens to be about 90% female. And it is this like strong community of savvy outdoor women who are horse packing. But when I was little, growing up, seeing these women in these roles, we've had women. Elizabeth Gilbert worked at our ranch back in the early 90s. We've had women who have gone on to become doctors and lawyers, a few women who've raced the Iditarod, and are just so diverse and like passionate about exploring as many different avenues of seeing this world as possible. So being a young girl growing up on a very secluded ranch in the mountains, seeing all these women in a leadership role at the ranch was incredibly inspiring to me. And of course, my mom, my two sisters, my grandma, all the strong women in my family that I've been so closely linked with forever. I have been fortunate to really build a strong community of women who supports me and inspires me every day.
I love it. Thanks, Jessie. Megan, how about you? What women have inspired you?
I mean, I think similar to what Jessie said, I'm really fortunate. Like, I think I look up to my mom a lot. I remember actually, as we're sort of thinking about like essays in middle school and whatnot for a reader, but my aunt, I really looked up to growing up. She broke horses for a living and was just like super tough, bad. Like I remember writing these essays about her that was just like tougher than nails. I also grew up really competitively ski racing. And so I think looking at like coaches and other athletes that were older than me that were just so talented and worked so hard and that were beating the boys or stronger than me, or, you know, just like all of these sort of more athletic achievements that I just found like so inspiring. And I think like that's very, you know, I still think about those sort of people today, even as, you know, it's been years and years later.
Nice. Lynette, what about you? Are there women or that you can name who've inspired you?
I would have to say my aunt, she was like a first generation college graduate. She got her degree at KU, and she was very inspirational to me because she was a judge here in the court system on the reservation. And so and plus she was a councilwoman. And so I looked up to her a lot. She's very vocal. So she was kind of like my inspiration, but you know, ever since I was maybe 20, all the way up until about 3 years ago, I have a group of friends, and we would go out to dinner every month and just decompress. And so just having a group of, you know, a strong group of my female friends that I've known over the years. We've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly through, you know, the process of life. And so we've been there for each other, and it's been an inspiration because they come from all walks. It's a very diverse group of women. So and of course my grandmother, if it hadn't been for me spending so much time with her, I wouldn't know my language. And so I'm very thankful for that as well. And it's something that I'll, you know, always hold dear to my heart. But yeah, and plus just many other incredible women, you know, that I look up to.
Thank you. Rita, how about you? Any women come to mind for you?
Well, right away, my mom, she always told me that that I should be the best at everything I do. Whatever you do, she said, be the best at it, and just don't let people tell you that you aren't good enough. And my English teacher, she knew that I was not going to go to college because I couldn't afford to go. And she just told me to read books, to work hard, to pattern myself after other people in that I admired, and that I would reach. She said, strive for perfection. If you don't reach it, you're going to be up there somewhere higher up. So I was just always told to go for it, and then I was pushed into doing a lot of things in my community. The things that people wanted done, they would always say, well, get Rita to do it, she'll do it, because I had the reputation of really getting it done to the best of my ability. So and in Wyoming, I have had so many, my Judy Catchpole, Diana Oman, Thara Thompson, lots of people that I never thought I would meet. Had I not come to Cheyenne, I would never have met people in positions like that. So I just feel so fortunate that I came here and met all of these people and did have that background and the work ethic to do the best I could at whatever, mopping the floor, whatever, just do the best job possible. And you know, this is what I tell the children that I work with. If you work hard enough and do a good enough job, people will notice it and you'll get to where you want to go. Whether you have the education or the money to go to college or not, you'll get it.
Thanks, Rita. Lauren, how about you? Any influencers or inspirations you'd like to mention?
Yeah, mine might seem a little stereotypical in the sense of just about every female astronaut and every female race car driver growing up. And, you know, some of the best advice I ever received when I was younger and in my formative years was to know a little bit about a lot. And I still consider that I'm growing up, even at 34 years old. And I think truly when you ask this question, and I'm so glad that everyone had a chance to speak to theirs, but Lindsay Linton Buk is who inspires me every day. I think that she has inspired me to listen to my own intuition. I think she leads in being her authentic self and having this be her life's work. And so much of her heart is in this project, asking for help, knowing when to rest, setting boundaries, you know, all of those things that, you know, all of us have our own experience with Lindsay, but I think everyone here could attest to those things. And she's just such a beautiful human and has done such an amazing job with this project.
Thank you, Lauren. And I think it is worth mentioning. I recognize that I didn't mention in this webinar, but some of Lindsay's inspiration for starting this project, her career sort of took root outside of Wyoming because she didn't see Wyoming as a place for herself. And so she wanted to have an inspiration or create places and women who were rooted here and who changed Wyoming and influenced Wyoming. And in doing that, I really think she has changed the trajectory for people in Wyoming to say, this is a place I can see myself and I can stay. And all of you are part of that in saying, like, you've made legacy and impact in this state and in the West. And so I think you're right in bringing up Lindsay, because she really has kind of brought you all to the forefront to share your stories too. So thanks, Lauren. That's a good, she is a role model for all of us. There are time for a couple more questions. And Megan, this one is for you. So what pushed you to take the big leap of faith at only 17 years old?
Well, I mean, I actually thought about this a lot because I think it's really exciting. I think we talk about like how important it is to be passionate about something and find your passion and what really lights you up. But I was so obsessed with Yellowberry. I like couldn't not sort of go after this idea. And so I took my sister shopping. We couldn't find anything for her. And I was literally like, couldn't think about it. If I was awake, I was thinking about building this company and these bras and this idea. And I think for me, it was more, I was always really interested in the idea that girls are so over-sexualized so young. And I felt like there were a lot of nonprofits or a lot of conversations about it, but it felt like a much more applicable way to sort of fix that problem, if you will, was like creating a product that was gonna, to use Lindsay's word, fill a void. And I don't know, I think it was really exciting too, because it was the first time I had built something for myself. And I think that it was never really just about making this one bra for my sister, but it was really about like how I could help change the way girls grow up. I kept learning that like 9 out of 10 women remember buying their first bra, and it's most often because it's a really uncomfortable experience on some level, from either it's like tears in the dressing room with your father or like with your mom, just like these horror stories. And yeah, I mean, I think that was like, once I sort of bit into it, I was not gonna not continue moving forward with that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, just about the needs that you all have filled too. Megan, there was another question for you particularly, and Jessie as well, but I'll ask you first, Megan. So how did you decide on the name for your company, and what does the name signify for you?
Okay, well, when I first was thinking about names, this is almost embarrassing. I almost named the company, because I live in Jackson Hole, like Holy Boobies, HOLEY. And I saw it written down on my first version of this like trademark application, and I almost wanted to throw up. It made me so uncomfortable, and I was like, I cannot call this company Holy Boobies. And my mom, for some reason, there was like some deadline for this application, and my mom was like, you have to turn this in like tomorrow. And I started thinking, and it literally just kind of came out. I was like, what about Yellowberry? And I was like, as soon as I said it, I was like, oh my God. And then sort of in hindsight, and I actually tell the story reverse, but came up with the name first. And then the meaning for that was, the reason that it really fit was like, if you think about a berry before it's red or purple or ripe, it goes through these different yellow stages, which is like the yellow years of a girl's life.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you.
Thank God.
Thank you. Thank you for also sharing the realness of your story. I think those are important pieces of stories to tell. Jessie, same question to you. How did you decide on the name for your company, and what does it signify for you?
Well, my dad actually started our ranch in 1973 with his 3 brothers. So there was 4 brothers, and at the time when they started the business, it was called the Allen Brothers, which is kind of funny now, because that there's still a sign on the ranch that says Allen Brothers. And so many of our guests will jokingly be like, but this ranch is like run by women everywhere. And we're like, yeah, the irony, like there has been this shift. it was the four brothers, and when the other brothers got out of the business, they named it the Diamond Four. And so it's the brand that's on our horses, and I've just continued to grow up in that. So I didn't have any hand in naming it, but that's the story behind it.
Are you ever tempted to add women to that sign?
Yeah, well, and I am one of three girls, so my parents then had three daughters. So now it is kind of the Allen's sisters, although my sisters aren't involved, but just the irony that it is a large majority of women up there these days.
I love it. Thanks, Jessie. And Lauren, you kind of answered this question in the chat too, but I'll ask the same question to you about your business.
Sure. I've had other businesses that had more creative names, but Jackson Cake Company, I do live in Moose, and Jackson is just my community. And the cake company is really what we're celebrating. And I, do more than that. And I have a commercial bakery, but it seemed to fit perfectly, and it abbreviates quite nicely. And it really is the target market for my area.
Awesome. I'll open any last questions up to our panelists, either of each other or any last kind of parting words that you would like to share. Now's your time, my friends.
Can I ask you, Lynette? I think I missed it, but what's the name of the app?
Okay, the Travel Story app.
And is that the language app?
Okay, the language app is Shoshone language app. If you're going on the app store.
Okay.
And actually it's if you go to Apple, it's actually called the Nua Degwa app.
Okay.
NEWADAYGWAP, and that's the app for the language.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Lynette.
I downloaded it, Megan, and it's super cool because it's broken up into all these categories. I was like, I need to spend more time with this.
I was like, when we get off this call, I know what I'm going to do tonight.
Yeah, don't forget the travel stories one. I mean, that's a really awesome one too. And actually, I forgot to mention, we had to break it up into two phases. So phase one takes you from 287-26 south to the Poposia River. And then phase two is going to be from Lander, and it'll take you through 789 and then through Riverton, and then at 26 it'll take you back up. So you take this huge loop, and it'll be developed in partnership hopefully with Fremont School District 14. So we'll give those students in that high school the opportunity to also be a part of that partnership, because we want to collaborate as much as we can with all the other schools.
That is so cool. It makes me want to take a road trip.
And the really cool thing about it too was when we launched it, it was during the pandemic. And so you're safe in your own little bubble. You don't have to get out of the vehicle to take a tour. You can stay in your vehicle and you can go, through these routes. And then when you hit these ping sites, it takes you automatically, or the narration starts. And you have to hear the narration. It's so wonderful. Our teacher at Fort Washakie School, I don't know if you've heard of him, you probably have. His name is George Abeda, but he's very well known in the dancing powwow trail, but also he's an excellent educator, but he's the one who is our narrator, and he has such an awesome voice. So if you do get a chance, please download it.
Cool. Thanks, Lynette. Thanks, Megan. Any other questions or comments or parting thoughts from my panel tonight?
Katie, I want to thank you for putting this together and making me feel, I was nervous about this. So thank you for making me feel so confident about doing this. And ladies, thank you so much for allowing me to know you.
Likewise.
Likewise. Thank you, Rita. And thank you, everybody else. I appreciate all that you do for your communities. And it's just awesome to be a part of this group. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Lauren, I don't want to leave you out. If you have any last parting comments, Jessie?
Katie, I was just going to ask the future of the Women in Wyoming project, and then also when it, how long it continues at the university in Wyoming, and kind of what the university's open for. How long will this project still be there?
Super glad you asked that question, Lauren. So Women in Wyoming will be on view at the University of Wyoming through the middle of July, so you've got time. We are open to the public. Our museum's always free from Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you're school, we do school tours and experiences. We'd love to work with you on some of those things. If you're just general public, we'd love to see you in the museum and spend some time with these amazing portraits. Be sure to check out Women in Wyoming, the website, because those podcasts, I know Lynette mentioned, she's listened to several of them. They're all accessible there, and what amazing layers to the stories that we didn't get to hear all of tonight. You could hear those. Lindsay doesn't know where this exhibition is headed next. So after July, hopefully we'll know more, but her goals are to have this project go nationwide. So I know she's searching for venues across the country that might be interested in taking the exhibition as a whole. So if you know of anyone, let us know or reach out to Lindsay. I think we all know amazing Wyoming women need to be known nationwide as well. So a little bit of update there. And yeah, was your other questions, Lauren? You had another one. I don't know if I addressed them all. Cool. Jessie, do you want to add any final thoughts?
Just thank you. Yeah, thank you for providing this space for us to all connect and share a little bit more about our stories. And I would just again encourage people to listen to the podcasts. I don't have a TV in my house, and I just have podcasts going all the time. And it's such a great source of inspiration and just a reminder to build your space in a use entertainment and media that inspires and fulfills you. And I think that all of these stories on the podcast do just that. And so, yeah, that was my last thoughts, and thank you. What a treat to see all these fine women and to connect with you all. And hopefully we can continue doing more interactive projects like this. So thank you, Katie, for orchestrating all of this.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to meet all of you and have this discussion today. And I think you all demonstrated that Women in Wyoming, the project, is important now and for the future because it gives all of us strong examples to look up to and show the pathway to success for the rural West today, for women and men of all ages. Just a quick note that we posted in the chat, the Women in Wyoming Google text and chat. So if you're an audience person, you can call and share a story about a woman who has inspired you, perhaps even yourself, who knows. So there's options. This project is still growing and changing, and Lindsay will continue to evolve it over time. So there's options for you to share your stories as well. And just in closing, a huge thank you to all of our sponsors, to all of the support for putting this webinar together, to you, all of our panelists tonight, and a special thank you to Lindsay Linton Buk for putting this project together. So may you take these stories with you and change the world, my friends. All right, take care. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Katie.